Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see how to enable incognito mode execution in CITS. Usually, if I have a test case like this and I have to execute it, I first need to choose the browser. And the browser can be chosen from this run option or the debug option. If we right click, we have the list of all the browsers that we can use to execute this test case. We have Chrome headless, but we do not see the option to execute this in incognito mode. So maybe we can have a look at the run settings. So if we click on the settings icon and look at the run settings, we also do not see any execution capability called incognito. So execution mode local grid, that is there, but nothing like incognito, also not here, right? Which means that this tool out of the box does not give us the option to select incognito mode execution when we have to run our test case. But that is not a problem because we have full control over the engine of the tool. So we can enhance the engine to create our own settings. So we have something called user-defined settings, and we are going to leverage this to create our own setting. Let's see how. So if we go to user-defined settings and we add a property, I'll call this property incognito. Sorry, typo. Incognito. Now I can pass any default value. Let's say I can pass it as yes or no, whether I would want the execution to be in incognito or not, right? So this is very important. What we have done is we have created a property in the user defined section, and let's save this. Okay, now let's go to the engine and write a small piece of code to include this property. Okay, let's go to Eclipse. We have already imported our engine and we have also written a custom code previously. To watch the details, please check the very first video in this playlist. Okay, now in the source way in Java, if I expand this, all the browser related properties or all the browser instructions are present in this package. Cognizant ITS engine drivers. If we expand this, if we go to WebDriver factory.java, all the browser properties are available here. If we open it up, we see that if we scroll down a little, we have something called a WebDriver create function. Yeah, a WebDriver create. Now here we have a creation of the Firefox driver, the Chrome driver, Chrome headless, and so on and so forth. We are only interested in Chrome and Chrome headless as of now. We see that the driver is instantiated with Chrome driver options, right? Chrome driver with Chrome options. So in order to understand what are these Chrome options, we have to step into this. So control click on this, it takes us to the Chrome options method. And in Chrome options, we see all these arguments have been added. Okay, now this is what we need to tweak a little bit. Just alter it to our liking. So in order to instantiate this execution in incognito mode, we just need to use the same command, options dot add arguments, and the argument that we are going to pass is incognito. That's it. It's as simple as that. But this would mean that every time Chrome or Chrome headless is instantiated with Chrome options, it will always be in incognito. But we don't want that. We just created a setting here in the user defined where we want it to run on incognito mode if it is yes, and when I mark it as no, it won't. Okay, so now we need to access this property um, in this line. So what we have to do is create an if condition. If Now, in order to access all properties in that project, the first thing that you need to do is use control. So control dot, and then you have the option to get the current project. So I'm going to select get current project. Once you have the current project, you need to get the properties. So dot get, and then if I scroll down, I should be seeing the project settings, right? So I'll click on the project settings. Now from the project settings, I say get user defined settings. Okay, so now we are entering into the user defined settings. Now here I need to get the property called incognito. Okay, so dot get property. Yeah, so this will give me the property. I need to pass the property name, right? So the property name, this is incognito. Let me copy this to avoid any typos. And this is a string, so pass here incognito. Okay, now if this property has a value, so dot equals, I'm going to use ignore case because I want to eliminate the usage of yes or no in caps or not. So if it equals ignore case yes, right, only then this option add arguments will be executed. If not, this will never enter into the if condition. So I can add a curly brace and end this in a curly brace. It was not necessary, but it's a good programming practice. So this if condition will determine whether my incognito mode will be triggered or not. As simple as that. We were able to use equals ignore case and all these string related properties because get property always returns the string value of the property that you have entered in the settings. Okay, fair enough. Now what we have to do is simply build this jar and restart the tool. So select these two, right click, export jar file, and the engine file is what we will replace. So finish, override. This is already explained in the very first video. If you haven't watched that video, please have a look at it to understand how we are enhancing the jar file or enhancing the heart of the tool. Okay, now we will simply restart. So let's quickly create a test scenario. Add scenario. I would call it incognito test. We'll create a test case tc1. We will say browser open, and let's open up google.com, https://google.com, and I will add a dummy line so that I can add a breakpoint. That's about it. That's all that we will do now. Now in the settings, in the user defined, incognito is marked as yes, which is cool, and the browser is marked as Chrome. So let's just start this in breakpoint or debug mode. Yeah, you see that google.com has been opened in incognito mode. Okay. Now, if I close this one and stop the execution, I go to the settings, change the incognito to no, and save this. trigger this again, and now we see that it is not in Incognito, it is a normal Chrome. So what we have done is we have created a setting of our own, a user-defined setting of our own, and based on the value in this setting, we can trigger the execution in either Incognito or not. See you all in the next video.